exactly. And the Fiano Special, or Fiano Fiesta, we've been calling it.
Fiano Fest.
Fiano Fest. Yes. Well, that's even right. Let's trademark that.
Fiano
Eric, we're going to
extravaganza.
Or a Fiano Fest. It's got it. So we're in the beautiful Barossa. I won't say Barossa Valley because I'm not exactly sure where we are. But we've got Derek. Welcome to the show, mate. Yep. Winemaker.
Yep. Thank you.
And Paisley Wines. Is this Paisley?
It is. It's a Paisley pattern.
Yeah.
So yes, I have a lot of Paisley shirts. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Kirsten, welcome to the show.
Hello.
And obviously you're not the winemaker, so you probably do everything else.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And give us a brief history of Paisley Wines.
So Derek's been a winemaker for over 20 years now, and in 2016 we bit the bullet and bought some fruit for ourselves, and we decided on the name Paisley for our company about 10 years before. So my great-great-grandfather had left the town of Paisley in Scotland in 1839, so 4 years after South Australia was settled.
Tell me a little bit about your winemaking, why we'll pour some wines.
Yeah,
if you want to do the... Let's do history of Derek in 2 minutes.
History of Derek in 2 minutes. All right. So, I come from Bateman's Bay on the south coast of New South Wales originally.
What a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah. Good fishing and beaches and all of that sort of stuff. But so wine wasn't really in the equation back then. There's not too many wineries down there. There's a few. So I went to Sydney Uni and I did chemical engineering. God knows why.
Nerd alert.
But then I worked as a chemical engineer for a short period of time, and then did the usual backpacking thing over to Europe, where I met Kirsten. Kirsten from Adelaide introduced me to the world of wine.
Hang on, when was this?
1995.
Early 90s, or early to mid 90s. Yeah. So introduced me to the world of wine. Came back and did the graduate diploma in enology here at Adelaide. So came up here and did a few months in the cellar at Burge, as in Grant Burge. Washed barrels for about 3 months straight. So that was a nice introduction to
a normal initiation.
And then I went to the Hunter Valley for 3 years, or three and a half years, to Arrowfield as an assistant winemaker. So that was fun and games. I learned all about how to make wine out of botrytised grapes. Came back to South Australia, so Bremerton in Langhorne Creek.
Yeah, we know Bremerton very well.
Thorne Clarke was probably my biggest stint. So I was at Thorne Clarke, did 8 vintages.
Right.
2011 was the last one of those, 2004 to 2011. From there...
Some consulting.
Some consulting and...
into Paisley.
Paisley, yeah.
Right, so what would be your favourite wine to make? What challenges you and brings out your winemaking skills the best?
If to be totally honest, it's not even a variety because I love all varieties. Oh, of course, Fiano. But to some extent, so probably the two things I enjoy most about the winemaking is, one is the blending aspect. So at Thorne Clarke we did a Bordeaux blend of 5 varieties that came from 40 different batches. So putting that together is a real challenge.
That sounds pretty cool, yeah.
And means you can sort of optimise the wine and also new varieties, I guess, hence the Fiano. And as Kirsten would tell you, if we could do 50 million different varieties, then I'd do them.
Yeah. But I'm the handbrake of the relationship.
Right. Well, how unusual.
The challenge of a new variety and a different variety and I guess travelling all around Australia, I've encountered lots of different varieties from lots of different regions, but it's then just optimising. So, doing a good job the first time you make it, but trying to do a better job year in, year after, and, looking... So, for instance, looking at our Fiano and comparing it to a wine from Campania or...
We were actually there in October 2019.
Right.
So we got back just as we were hearing about this thing that was making people sick in China. So we were very lucky time-wise, and we deliberately went there because, we had never actually been to that part of Italy, and we were desperate to try some local Fianos.
Have you had a good South Australian Greco?
I haven't had too many. Probably.
I'm going to send you one.
Beach Road.
Yeah, Beach Road's good. Selleck's Hill.
Oh, really?
An absolutely amazing Greco.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, we might do a bit of a wine trade.
We'll get...
I'm sure Paul will trade you for something from selling Pompeii. Sorry. Yeah, for sure. So let's go to, I noticed you already had some, but we're going to go to the look, the colour, and the white bench is awesome.
Yeah, stands out nicely.
It does, doesn't it? Now, to me, and I'm going to steal a term from the boys at Coriol, it doesn't look as green or as luminescent as I would have thought. To me, it has a little bit more...
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, well, I was hoping you were going to jump in, because I don't know the reason.
It's, even though it's old barrels, it's actually finishes fermentation in barrels and sits in barrels for about 5 months. So we leave it in barrel on lees, which is obviously what you do quite often with Chardonnay as well. So we ferment it. Grapes are normally picked sort of, I don't know, late March sort of thing.
Wow.
So we ferment it.
This is from the cooler climate.
Cooler climate. Goes into the barrel, and then we usually bottle it about October, end of October. So you've got a good 5-6 months in barrel. Hence, it still extracts, even though you're not getting the oaky flavour. The idea of fermenting in the barrel and leaving it in the barrel with the lees is to make it creamy, nice mouth feel, to balance the texture, because Italian whites, Fiano, it's all about the texture of the wine, the tannins, which is generally...
Which people don't think about with the white wine, do they?
But it's great. And the more confident you get with winemaking, the more confident you are having tannin in white wine. But Italian wines are all about tannins and food matching anyway. But leaving it in the barrel also means it just gets a little bit of... It loses that green hue, and you probably get a bit. So, like, think of it
luminescence.
Think of it more of it's more of a sort of a Chardonnay colour.
I love a barrel-aged Chardonnay.
Yeah,
and so we won't ask the winemaker because they just make rubbish up usually anyway. But what are you smelling?
I often describe it to people who've got no idea as in between Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. Because
that's not a bad description.
Yeah, it's fruity. It's got, for me, apricots.
Yeah. See, I would say nectarines.
Yep, nectarines. Yep, absolutely. And then it's got the because it's got the oak, even though it's not oaky flavour, it's got that mouthfeel and texture that you often get in a Chardonnay that's been aged in oak. So that's why I sort of give those.
I think we better just find that out. I think.
Just make sure.
Thirsty.
Fiano for breakfast. This is my favourite time to drink Fiano.
And the Italians do like to drink their whites with food, and it does go beautifully with food.
All right, so I'm coming here for dinner. I'm bringing my wife. She loves Fiano.
Yep.
We'll say lunch because it's a fair way from where we live.
Yeah,
But what are you cooking to go with it?
I think something with seafood. I'd actually go with like creamy prawns or something like that would be pretty delicious.
Lobster Mornay.
If we could all afford lobster, sure, although the price has come down recently. But something like lobster or prawns, which has a lot of natural sweetness in the meat already, works really well with the crispness, the acidity of this, but also the fact that it's a bit richer.
Well, when we're in Italy, but around that area, Naples, obviously, we were quite surprised. We went to a few of the more local sort of establishments, that not your 5-star dining, but they do very plain pasta, with clams, I think was the big one that they did. And usually a fair bit of olive oil, a bit of cheese.
Someone mentioned like a spaghetti marinara with mussels as the seafood would be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's enough flavour and character for it to go with other dishes as well. It's not like you...
Do you know what I found?
Retiring type.
Is it goes extremely well with a spicy Thai dish.
Oh, okay.
And the older the Fiano, the spicier food it can handle.
Yeah, right. We haven't tried it with a lot of curries ourselves.
So we had prawn chuchi from, we'll give Sinise's a wrap because they're my favourite Thai restaurant, just around the corner.
Where's that?
Just at Christie's Beach, where we come from, on Golfview Road.
Don't get down that neck of the woods.
Well, you're going to have to, aren't you? Really? You're going to have to come
sure.
down. That's no, people don't, do they? Like, you're too busy doing your own thing in your own part of the world.
Yeah.
And we're, a couple of hours apart. So for me, and obviously being the layman, the creaminess came through, but I would usually struggle, and I'm sitting next to a winemaker, I can smell the spice, I can smell the nutmeg, but I actually can for once. It didn't taste as spicy as it smelled. I thought, that's going to be quiet, but it wasn't there. It's in there at the end, but not overpowering.
One of the comments that when we did Cellador Fest, one of them actually made, and it's still there just, and I guess that's a bit in the Sauvignon Blanc direction, is asparagus. And if you actually smell it, there is that hint of asparagus that...
Herbaceous note. Yeah. Now this is a 20 Fiano, which sadly we've actually got our last six pack out in the shed, and that's it.
Not sadly.
Good but sad.
Either that or he didn't make enough.
We're bottling the 21 in a couple of weeks.
So the 21 we're going to give away to the viewers.
Yes.
So all they've got to do is ask a question, throw a comment in,
Yep.
and we'll give them a couple of bottles.
Okay.
All right? I'll let you guys choose the best question. So, because people think I rig it. Well, they might be right, but...
So one of the things we find when we first bottle it, and it does tend to sort of disappear a little bit as the wine sat in bottle, but I think you'll find it in the 21, is that it's always incredibly floral when we first put it in bottle, and that's the barrels. Because the first year we made it in 2018, Derek actually had given me a taste of half of it was in stainless steel and half of it in oak. And the wine that was in barrel had this beautiful, beautiful aromatic, like blossom smell. It's just so pretty.
So that was old barrels again, 6 years old, sort of. So no actual oak characters or flavours possible, just the vessel that obviously had something to do with the fermentation process.
No, I think you guys have done an amazing job with the Fiano. And so the vineyard's not far from here, but it's still classified as Adelaide Hills, yeah?
The one that we're currently using, so we're really excited. We've actually planted some Fiano, so we might go and have a look at that with you shortly. But the fruit we get at the moment is from Kersbrook.
I love, especially Fiano. I think it's one of those wines that a little bit of skin contact. I mean, because we only do small amounts, I take my truck and I take my ute and trailer, take the bins up there the day before, they pick into them that night, and then I pick them up at 6 o'clock in the morning and take them to the winery, and it's not sitting in there real long.
So how much are we producing of the Fiano?
A pallet and a half, 2 pallets.
A couple of pallets. Oh yeah.
21, there's...
About the same.
No, we can't get any more. They won't give us any more. The buggers.
That's why we're planting it. That's why we planted it.
Planted some ourselves.
So when did we plant it?
So it's now 3 years, but there's not.
Yeah, maybe.
We had last year, so we got Mataro planted over there as well, so young vines, but about December last year we had a massive wind come, like 100 km/h winds, and it just stripped the leaves, so they sort of went back to square one.
So if people want to buy your wine, because after how much we've talked it up, I'm pretty sure they're going to want to buy
It's
it.
pretty delicious.
How do they get in contact with you?
So they can get onto my website, which is paisleywines.com.au. They can order online. They can just give me a call. Derek and I are down in town quite often, so if it's an Adelaide delivery, we do it personally a lot of the time. If it's interstate, then we just pop it in with the courier and send it over.
There's a few bottle shops in Adelaide that have it, so...
They'd be best off coming out here though, wouldn't they? For the experience?
Yeah, look, if they would love to come and visit us, we do tastings here in our kitchen.
But we've also introduced vineyard experiences too.
So we're basically going to take everyone through the vineyard, through the Shiraz block. We're actually going to taste the wine that we make from the Aaron block here.
And let me picture it. We're going to go into the Shiraz block and we're going to talk about the vines. We're going to have a taste of the Shiraz in the vines.
Absolutely.
Then we're going to move on to...
Or have a prune if it's that time of the year.
I'm not working.
There's a prize at the end of the day.
Oh, okay.
And then we've got a view up at our sunset block. So our daughter named the block Sunset Block, and we decided that was a good name because the sun does set that way. So it is pretty specky. Feed the sheep on the way back to have a taste here with us.
Right.
So,
all right, so what about socials?
We're on Facebook and Insta, and that's just simply Paisley Wines Barossa.
Cool. All right, well, thanks heaps for coming on. I've really enjoyed it, and even though we came out here for a Fiano from the Barossa, we ended up in the Adelaide Hills somewhere. And people told me there's no Fiano in the Adelaide Hills. Because the Fiano doesn't grow well in a cold climate.
There you go. Well, so this vineyard again is at 450 metres above sea level, like ours is. Ours is at 450, which is what is typical in Avellino.
Proof's in the pudding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it's pretty
Cheers.
Yummy. Cheers.
Thanks for coming.